Hi, everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today I'm talking about the movie Alien Romulus. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go ahead and watch the movie first before you watch this review. So Alien Romulus is a science fiction horror film directed by Fede Álvarez. It's the seventh installment in the Alien franchise set between Alien and Aliens. It follows a group of downtrodden young space colonists in pursuit of a better life conditions who encounter hostile creatures while scavenging a derelict space station. So overall, what I liked about the movie is the cast was great. I really liked Cailee Spaeny as Rain. I saw her in Priscilla, and she was just in Civil War recently, so she's definitely had a good career going for us. That's great. She was great in this. She's very good. And I really like David Jonsson as Andy, the android. He was great. He's kind of playing two different characters in a way, because at the beginning he's this kind of nervous, kind of scared, kind of dad joke telling kind of android, and then once he gets another chip put inside, again, this is spoilers, he turns into a different kind of android and becomes kind of menacing and scary. And he does a good job with both roles. I like the other actors as well. Archie Renaux as Tyler, Isabela Merced as Kay, Spike Fearn as Bjorn, and Aileen Wu as Navarro. I'm not too familiar with most of them except Isabela Merced, but they were all good. They did a good job. I like that there's not a ton of characters. There's basically what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in this movie. Great. I love it. Yeah. I really like the cinematography. It was by a guy named Gallo Olivares. He did Gretel and Hansel, which was the Osgood Perkins movie, and Roma. Music was by Benjamin Wallfish. He did Blade Runner 2049 and the It from a few years ago. And the score had a lot of stuff from the other movies as well. So like the original Alien theme from Jerry Goldsmith, Aliens from James Horner, and the Prometheus theme by Mark Streitenfeld. Yeah, cool. Good stuff. I like the music throughout. I think it really did a good job of adding to the tension and building up the scenes and everything. Good stuff. Yeah. I think the opening was really cool. It was basically silent for like 2 minutes. There's like no sound at all, which was funny because you hear all like the chairs going back and reclining in the movie theater and everything. But yeah, it was effective and very similar to the original Alien ending. Or opening rather. I really like the beginning of the movie. The first like maybe 20 minutes or so where we're just kind of getting to know Rain and Andy and her friends and everything else, and like all of that was fun. It was interesting, and I really liked sort of the characters. I identified with them, knowing that they grew up on Jackson Star. I think it's called this planet or this whatever it is that doesn't even have a sun, or they've never seen the sun before. Like that's crazy. So I can definitely understand why they would want to leave this planet and go somewhere else. So that was great. The set design, I think, is probably my favorite part of the movie. It's just really good. It's really well done. It's that sort of retro futuristic where, because of course it's based on the first Alien movie, which came out in 1979. So everything has that sort of like 70s kind of 80s look to it, even though it is also kind of set in the future. So that's a really cool idea. And I like that everything looks real. Everything looks like it's been used and touched. It's dirty, it's grimy, it's gross, it's banged up. Like it was really, really, really impressive. I loved the set design and the production design in this as well. Production design was by Nan Marshall, who worked on The Dark Knight, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Don't Breathe. So yeah, really good. I think probably my favorite part of the movie is just it looks great. It just looks amazing. Not for a second did anything look fake to me or anything take me out of it. It was just really, really well done. I love the practical effects. There's a lot of practical effects in this movie. A lot of the aliens, their mouths opening, all that stuff. As far as I can tell, most of it is practical effects, but there are some visual effects as well. Some of the scenes where the aliens are moving a little more, or I think the face hugger stuff, or some of those at least, and it works. It works really well. They combine together, and it's hard for me at least to tell what is what, and that's the best kind of visual effects as far as I can tell. I liked all the dad jokes that Andy told. Some of them were legitimately kind of funny, and I think that's a good way to sort of endear the character to us. They did a similar thing with like the Ghostbusters movie, which I know not everyone liked, but I liked it. With the little girl Phoebe did that, so I liked it. I like dad jokes. It's a fun little thing to do. I think there's a lot of cool, tense moments, very scary, kind of intimidating kind of moments. It really works, and it is what I was expecting for this kind of movie. I love the scene where Andy saves Bjorn. Like Bjorn says something kind of shady to him, and Andy grabs him for a second. And he realizes that, oh, he was about to fall, and Andy saved him. I've seen stuff like that before, but still, it was a fun scene. I really liked the whole concept of like having to worry about colliding with the rings that were orbiting Jackson Star or whatever. That was really cool. The whole face hugger sequence, specifically the one where they're in the room with the face huggers, is fun, but I really like the one where they turn up the temperature and have to like sort of go through this room with the face huggers and try not to make any noise so they can't hear him. That very tense, very scary. I really, really enjoyed that. And all the stuff, the anti-gravity stuff, with the anti-gravity and the acid blood and all that, that was really fun. And she's like floating up toward a pool of this alien acid blood, and she uses the gun to sort of like shoot her down away from it. Great stuff. I really enjoyed all of that. That was really, really fun. I like that there was a lot of nods to earlier movies, like the alien kind of getting its face close to rain, like in I think Alien 3 that was. The ending where she's about to get into the sleep chamber, and she's like basically just in her underwear, and then the alien attacks, which is basically just how the first movie ended, and the offspring, the creepy human alien hybrid creature that looks a lot like the creature from Alien Resurrection from the end of that. So a lot of references to stuff, and a lot, of course, there's even more as well, but quite a few, and some of them I like, some of them not as much, but those are the ones that I liked. I really like the birth scene where we see, I forget, Isabela Merced's character has to give birth to this alien human hybrid thing. It's very disturbing, it's very gross and creepy and disgusting, and I love it. That's what I want. That's the kind of stuff that I love. I love that it's real time toward the end when they say like you've got a half hour to before impact or whatever. The movie's got a half hour left, which is just like Aliens. Aliens did the same thing where it's like you have 15 minutes to rescue Newt, and that's 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, I think most of the movie it could be in real time. I'm sure that there's some time gaps and some jumps there, like when she's traveling, when they're first going up to the station. But yeah, a lot of the movie seems to be pretty close to, it all takes place in like a day, I think, or maybe 2 days. Either way, yeah. And I did like that. There's a happy ending. Maybe there's a possibly happy ending. There's a what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, maybe they can make it to that planet, and maybe she will see the sun. So that's cool. I like that. As far as what I disliked about the movie, I love Ian Holm. He's a great actor. I don't know if I really needed all the stuff with him when he first shows up. I'm like, oh, cool. Hey, it's Ash from the first movie. And then I'm like, well, no, that's not Ash because Ash died. So it's another robot or android or whatever they call it, synthetic, that looks just like him, named Rook. And I'm like, okay. And honestly, some of the CGI wasn't great. Some of it was good, some of it wasn't. And it was too much. I think if it would have been a quick thing, maybe, but I would kind of rather just have seen another actor, another android, yeah. And I like Isabela Merced, but she's kind of sidelined in this. It's just like she's like, hey, we go up. Oh no, but I'm pregnant, so I can't go. And it's like, all right. I mean, I know nothing about any of the reproductive system, but there's women who work out, there's women who run marathons when they're pregnant. So I'm just like, all right. But I guess she had morning sickness or something like that. Her stomach was bothering her, so it makes sense. But I was just a little disappointed that like they get split up, and then like she doesn't have a ton to do, at least not really toward the end. And I think the cast is a bit young too. I remember like looking around, going like, wow, I know Cailee Spaeny is like 26 and she was probably 24 or 25 when they filmed this, but she looks very young. And Isabela Merced is 23 or so, something like that. They're all pretty young. And in the original movie, like Tom Skerritt was 46. Hurt was 39. Holm was 48. Harry Dean Stanton was 53. Yaphet Kotto was 42. Veronica Cartwright was 30, and Sigourney Weaver was 28. So yeah, in the original movie, they were all much older than these. These all look like they're high school kids in a way. I think, like I said, I appreciated some of the nods to the earlier movies. There was a few too many Easter eggs and references for me. Like I said, all the stuff with Ian Holm, I didn't really need that. The "get away from her, you bitch" line, it's a classic line. I get it, and they did it kind of in a funny way where he says it in such a weird way. But it also didn't make any sense. Like, why would he say that? Where did that come from? I don't know. All the Prometheus fire stuff, I didn't really like. Just because I like Prometheus, I thought it was fine, but I almost kind of wish it was his own thing and not really tied into the Alien movies. And then like, why did she inject herself? I know she was obviously hurt, and but it seemed like she was pretty much on the ship or close enough to it that she could have made it into the med bay or whatever. And I feel like she didn't really need to inject herself with that stuff. Also, did she even know? I guess they explained it to her, or she heard them talking about it, so she figured it out. But I don't know, it just seemed a little odd. And then the timeline, like I said, a lot of it takes place in pretty close to real time. But then like the chest burst happened like immediately, like within a few minutes. Whereas like in the original Alien, it takes like a whole day, I think, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure he like goes to sleep and they wake up later. I might be wrong. But that and like the offspring aging into like a fully grown adult in the matter of minutes seemed a little odd to me. That I don't think that's the way they normally work. Normally, aren't the aliens little? This was a hybrid, so maybe that had to do with it. But I don't know. And there's just a lot of sort of factual errors and plot holes and stuff like that. I can talk about that a little bit more later. The movie's a little too dark too, which I know it's set in space, set in a space station. That's part of it, and also helps to hide the effects. But there was definitely a few times where I'm like, I'm having a little bit of a hard time telling what's going on here, and it's a little too long. I think it ends up being about 2 hours long, and I feel like maybe if they could have cut that down to an hour 45, just would have been a little better for me personally. So yeah. Other than that, the movie is directed by Fede Álvarez. He did the Evil Dead remake about 10 years ago. Also did Don't Breathe and The Girl in the Spider's Web. It was written by Fede Álvarez, who wrote most of those except Girl in the Spider's Web. And Rodo Sayagues, I didn't pronounce it right, but he's the guy who also wrote the Evil Dead remake, Don't Breathe 1 and 2. He directed Don't Breathe 2, and they're based on characters created by Dan O'Bannon for the original Alien movie. Budget on this one is $80 million. So far, it's made $108.2 million. 41 and a half of that was domestic. So it's doing well here, a little bit better than they expected, I think, at least the initial projections, but doing a lot, really, really well overseas. Weirdly, very well in China. I guess a lot of the Alien movies did well overseas. And I didn't know, but apparently Prometheus and Covenant were reasonably successful overseas as well. So good for them, I guess. I don't know. It looks like this movie is going to be making money and they'll probably be making more. So, hey, that's great. I did appreciate, well, before I move on too far, Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes score on this one, the critics are at 82% and the audience is at 86%. So generally people are liking this and critics and audience are mostly in agreement. So that's cool. I did notice as I'm watching the movie, because Disney Plus has all the Alien movies. Oh, that's right. Disney bought Fox and Fox is the one who made the Alien movies. But the movie starts and it's 20th Century Studios. And I've probably actually seen this before and kind of forgot, but it is interesting that Disney is keeping it under the 20th Century banner. They renamed it 20th Century Studios, but yeah, and the movie kind of starts up with that, and then it kind of the image messes up and the music goes off and everything. That was cool. They also brought back a lot of the original effects houses, so Legacy Effects and Studio Gillis, which were both somewhat affiliated with the earlier Alien movies. Legacy Effects is like the successor to Stan Winston Studios, who did Aliens, and Studio Gillis is the successor to Amalgamated Dynamics, who worked on Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection and the Alien vs. Predator movies. This movie was filmed in chronological order, which is interesting. That doesn't happen very often, but when it does, often it's to convey a certain sort of sense of tone or suspense or something like that. So I assume that's sort of why they did it here. It was originally supposed to come out on Hulu, but they changed their mind and put it out in theaters, and I'm sure that they're glad that they did. This movie is kind of interesting because all of the Alien movies before have always had the androids have their names go alphabetically. So it was Ash in the first movie, Bishop in Aliens, Call in Alien 3, David in Prometheus, and Alien Covenant. And so you would expect his name would be something with an E, and instead they went with Andy, which is okay, that's cool. And then it kind of makes sense though, because it goes before Alien, so but then they also named Ash Rook in this one, or the new Ash android. So okay, so this movie is set 20 years after Alien, but before Aliens. And the station itself, of course, is named after the mythical king Romulus, who, along with Remus, founded the city of Rome. But they were raised by a wolf, and she suckled them on her teat or whatever is the story. And there's sort of a similar thing going on in this movie where, we see a bunch of different murals and paintings of that, but also when Kay gives birth to a half xenomorph creature, a creature of a different species, it, feeds on her. So, okay, there's kind of a thing there. Like I said, the whole 30 minutes until impact is in real time, just like an Alien, so that was cool. There's really, like I said, some of the plot holes are things that don't quite line up for me. Like there's really no explanation given as to how they managed to get that alien, because if that's supposed to be the alien from the first movie, she like sent that out into the space lock. So like, and that should have killed it, because we saw them get killed by like guns and bullets and flamethrowers and getting run over. So like, I don't understand how the alien could have survived being blown out of the airlock because it got incinerated by the engine's thrusters. So it doesn't really make sense there. And then also, like, this takes place before Aliens and well before, like 200 years before Alien Resurrection. So like, how had they managed to make all of these advancements 200 years before they did, everything? So like that kind of stuff just didn't quite make sense. And in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like I wish they wouldn't have tried to tie it into the previous movies as much, especially Prometheus, which again, I don't dislike Prometheus. I guess I didn't like the lore that it added to it as much. So other than that, though, I really did enjoy this movie. I know I said a lot of complaints about it and I have some issues with it, but I like Aliens. I think much like the Ghostbusters movies, I pretty much am just going to like almost everything. I didn't love the Alien vs. Predator movies, but yeah, I really like this. I think my score is going to be an 8 out of 10. But if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night. I will see you here again next week.